The World Bank has just upgraded Russia, I think, is something to think about. This is coming to us from the South China Morning Post, and I get it. All right, this is CCP territory, but it's still the truth. The World Bank has upgraded Russia to a, quote, high-income country as its war-driven economy grows. The country's GDP grew 3.6% last year amid growing demand for military goods and services. And don't forget, all of our efforts to clamp down on their energy production there in Russia have only driven energy prices, nat gas especially, much higher. Energy prices, that's part of the inflation, right? That's going on right here in the good old US of A, because Biden won't let us drill. And consequently, when you shut off nat gas coming from Russia, they say, oh, it's a global market. Of course it's a global market, but it has an effect on prices because you're taking that much out of commission, therefore driving up prices, therefore benefiting the Russian economy at the expense of your own. Imagine that, Joe Biden. Where's your energy secretary when you need her? Come on, Jen, right? Former governor of Michigan, failed MSNBC anchor, now in charge of our energy policy. She's so stuck on those EVs and wants to kill all drilling. And in the meantime, you have these countries that have been historically challenged places like Russia benefiting from it all. So if you ask me, we're kind of asleep at the switch. I mean, this is kind of humiliating. This is humiliating for Biden and his team there. The World Bank, which, by the way, we have a big sort of say in, is having to admit that Russia is benefiting from everything that's going on. So this is pretty humiliating for Biden, the State Department, our energy department, and everyone else, certainly on the economic team. On top of that, I want you to consider this picture, which Zelensky is going crazy about. It was in Politico today. He's really angry. Oh my goodness, this is just terrible. Modi is a huge disappointment, Zelensky is saying, for hugging Putin. Ukraine can't believe that the Indian leader met, quote, bloody criminal Russian ruler on day of children's hospital bombing, and then they hugged each other. So here's what you kind of need to understand in terms of what's going on behind the scenes. India is a really big country. It's an emerging market country. It's trying to become more powerful economically. And part of becoming more powerful economically means distancing itself from none other than us, right? Because if you look at what we did to Russia, for example, vis-a-vis those tariffs, we're not even at war, right? One of our allies is at war, but we're not at war with Russia. And yet we said, hey, guess what? We're not going to honor those treasuries that you bought. Think about that. We're not going to allow trade with you anymore. I mean, if they really wanted to get serious, they would have actually cut off trade with India too. And anybody who was willing to do trade with Russia. India is still trading with Russia, and it's looking at the situation naturally and saying, hey, where are my friends in the world? And do I run the risk if I off the United States of America for any reason, or I happen to be on the wrong side of some political agreement, et cetera, am I at risk for losing my investment in treasuries? And if so, maybe I ought to look to other things. I mean, heck, maybe I ought to look at gold, right? I mean, and that's why another story that just came out shows that India, this is per Bloomberg, India just ratcheted up its gold purchases more than ever before. So there's a theme going on in Joe Biden's global disaster that he's created, where he's inadvertently giving these emerging market countries more and more and more and more power. And now all of a sudden they're looking at each other to be more relevant to each other, with China and Russia teaming up and Russia and India teaming up. And this is not good. And don't forget what's going on right here just south of the border. You look at Venezuela, for example, and you got Russians and Iranians all over the place, along with the Chinese. The Russians have been buying up for pennies on the dollar all of the debt that is backed by the likes of PDVSA, which is the main oil company there. Yeah. So natural resources, like 2.5 hours from Miami. Whoop-de-doo. That's just great, right? Look, for whatever reason, I don't think that this team is really thinking through all the implications of what they're doing. It's like the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand. And so you need to think about that, right? I mean, you got KJP going on and on. I played this in yesterday's show, saying how proud she is that Joe Biden released gas from the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And I'm like, okay, it was Donald Trump who actually filled that darn thing. So he filled up the SPR when oil was trading at $20. And the left accused him of trying to give some kind of handout to his cronies, the energy companies. It's like, no, duh, it's a good trade. You know what? I'm going to buy oil at 20, not at 80. Oh, but Joe gives it away at 80. You see, like, it's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable, the stupidity of these people that are running things. And perhaps it's because they're all politically driven and they don't understand economics. It may be part of it. I mean, I come from the business world. I started my career actually at Goldman Sachs trading none other than emerging market debt. And so have always had a good sort of grasp on the political situation that's going on and how it affects a country's economy. And that's really what so many people in Washington, D.C. have lost sight of, because I think they're just political in nature. I mean, I think about my career in the media, and I've always been really interested in the economy, but nobody else in the media is. They're really not. You go into the halls of CBS News or ABC News or NBC News, and they're like, we have to talk about the Fed today or the markets today. They don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. They just want to talk about the horse race and, you know, the tit for tat palace intrigue that's going on. That is who they are. And I think those are the people that actually wind up in these government bureaucracy positions, whether it's in the media, and that's sort of a bit of a dig on them, I get it, but that's sort of who they're attracting, a whole bunch of English majors, right? And that's exactly what you're getting, poli-sci and English majors there in Washington, D.C. And so as a result of all that, guys, they're not actually focused on the economic policy that's going to make a difference. A big plug, again, for Rob and myself, because we are focused on that, and we think about it in terms of investing all the time. In fact, one of the sort of things that I remember Rob telling me really irritated him about March 2020 was that everything was so staged. So in other words, when you're investing on behalf of clients, there's all these ESG rules concerning everything, which means even though oil's at $20, you can't actually buy it. You can't buy it because, somebody's got some ridiculous ESG rule around this portfolio. And he's like, wait a second, like, you know, if it's a good deal, it's a good deal. Right? And that's what you need to remember as an investor. So get the dollar, I'm talking about good deals, the dollar discount. Just go in for $1 a month. You can get access to the best research that's out there, period. Conflict free. Go to 76research.com. Look at our model portfolios while you're there, or 76report.com, because that's what you're going to be getting access to at just $1 a month. Use code word dollar. It is so important right now. And a lot of you say, hey, you know, Trish, I can't afford to invest right now. To which I say, you know what? You can't afford not to invest right now. I mean that, because you look at the tear that the market has been on. And I'm not saying that that's going to continue, although there are success stories out there. Rob and I write a lot about them. In fact, in the basic income portfolio builder, phenomenal holding that we chose a couple of months ago. It was just a great level to get in. In fact, we encourage people to diversify out of it and to buy something else in addition, because you've made so much money on that it's so much a part of your portfolio. And we want to make sure that you are diversified. So you don't want any one thing really taking over. And then it's an opportunity occasionally to take a little money off the table and diversify into something else. But the point just being that there are still opportunities out there, and I don't want you to miss them, right? I just don't want you to miss them. I think that you have to plan for yourself and you have to plan for your future, because Lord knows you're not gonna be able to rely on Uncle Joe or Uncle Sam. We all know that. And things are changing. There's a lot going on right now.